Hello, everybody that is watching the replay. My name is Tatum Tamia Ayomi K. I'm the host of the Blessed and Bossed Up podcast and the CEO of Anchored Media. I am going live to record my podcast, Blessed and Bossed Up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and listen to Blessed and Bossed Up everywhere that you get your podcast. You can go to blessedandbossedup.com to learn more about us and see all of our previous episodes, our blogs, all of the things. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell, all the YouTube chat, so that you won't miss when I post another video. If you are here live with me, say something, like the video, and say hello so I can know that you are here. I'm going to give people a second to join in before I get right into it. Hey guys, that is here. I can see that there are people here, but I can't see who's here. So say something. Hey, Lolita Harrison. Hello, everybody that's coming in. I think this is my first time going live on YouTube. I'm not sure, but I think so. You, thank you. We have new colors for our God is my CEO merch. So I'm wearing one of our newest hoodie. It's a crop hoodie. We have some other colors and things available right now for the fall. It's really like, ooh, I don't want y'all to see my sports bra, but it's a little what's the word I'm looking for? Sweater material on the inside. So it's like super comfortable. And we have some hoodies, we have the crop sweatshirt, some more colors. Um, we have a new t-shirt as well. So check it out at blessedandbossedup.com. Hey D, this is my first time. No, it's not. I've actually done the lives a few times with interviews via StreamYard, but I'm actually recording right into YouTube today. I'm trying something new. I want to actually see what the audio sounds like if I record right into YouTube versus using other things I usually use, just so I can get some intel as I'm working with people on their podcasts, what sounds the best. And then worst case scenario, if it doesn't sound good when I play it back, this episode is a mailbag episode. So I have plenty of questions where I can have an alternative for that. All right, so this is we're getting ready to record episode 254, I think. I cannot believe there have been that many episodes of the podcast. The podcast launched in January of 2017. So it's been almost 5 years. January, we will be celebrating our 5 year anniversary of the podcast. And I'm really excited about that because we have some new things that we're going to be introducing. And it's good stuff. It's all good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to let you guys record with me. This is a pretty chill recording. I'm not in the office, I'm at home. This is not super technical at all. Um, it's not the typical podcast setup you might see with like the headphones and the microphone in my face. Um, so, yeah, let me find my email that I have all the questions in. If you guys have questions as you come in and you watch the live, you could type them in the chat and I will answer yours here. One more church announcement. We have our annual fast coming up with the Blessed and Bossed Up Society. If you're not familiar with the society, it is our membership community. And one of the foundations of our community is fasting. So every year we do like a big fast. We do challenges and things all the time. We've done a business boot camp before. We've done challenges, all types of things. And so the theme for this fast that's starting on Monday is called Big Faith and Big Business. So we're going to cover a bunch of topics around faith and of course around business. So it's a free fast. Our community, is a paid community. But when we do our challenges and fasts and things, they're always free. All right, so let's hop into the questions that I got for today's episode. I'll do an intro for the podcast offline. So I'm not going to go through the whole welcome to the Blessed and Bossed Up podcast thing. I can do that outside of here. We're going to go straight into the questions. And it's so funny. A lot of my questions were about podcasting, and I did not ask, for people to ask me podcast specific questions, but a lot of things people wanted to talk about is podcasting. And I'm excited about that because you guys know podcasting is something that I love to talk about um, because I love with podcasters through my company, Anchor Media. So the first question, and if you guys ever submit a question, I don't read names. I just keep everybody anonymous. So I don't have to remember who's anonymous and who's not. This question says, what do you what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started podcasting? And what is the biggest takeaway that you learned from all your years podcasting? Great question. So I'll go with the second part first of what's my biggest takeaway that I learned from podcasting. And so this is a takeaway not just from me podcasting, but I've worked with many podcasters. At this point, I feel like it's almost 100 podcasts that I've worked with, and many of the shows that we work with chart on Apple Podcasts. They all increase in listenership as a result of working with us. So I work with a lot of shows, and the biggest takeaway that I have from my journey, as well as from those that I work with, if you have to be consistent. A lack of consistency is a podcast killer. And a lot of people underestimate the commitment that it takes to keep up with the show. And so they go into it thinking, oh, I want to start a podcast. So I'm about to just do that. It's going to be a weekly show. I'm going to talk every week. And then they fall off. And so, or you may be doing it for a little while and the numbers aren't what you want them to be. So you stop. And so, my biggest takeaway that I would tell anybody who's looking to get into podcasting is to make sure that it's consistent. The Bible even tells us to count the cost. Who builds a house without counting the cost? So, before you get into podcasting and start your own show and you get into it, you realize you hate it and you stop. I want you to count the cost of what it means to start a show. Do your research. You can go to anchormedia.com. We have so many different blogs, even on our email list. We have so many emails about the podcasting industry that we send out. Really study the industry. Podcasting is an industry. It's a new industry. It's a budding that you're going to be selling to your consumer. You want your audience, your listener, to keep coming back. And the way that you really mess up your relationship with them is by not being consistent and not showing up when you say you're going to show up. Nobody likes flaky people. Think about the relationships that you have with people in real life. Nobody likes flaky people. So don't be a flaky podcaster. So that's my biggest takeaway. Don't be a flaky podcaster. But the other part of that question is, what do I wish I knew before starting? And honestly, I didn't know much. So I don't really have an answer for that part because podcasting was even newer 5 years ago. I had a few shows that I personally listened to, and I was asking my friends about podcasting, but nobody had heard of it. And even when it came to building a brand online, everybody was into blogging as well as building a brand on Instagram at the time. So nobody was really checking for podcasts like that. And so I didn't know much. And so because I didn't know much, I went into it green and just decided that I was going to be consistent. And I have been. We're on episode 254. So every week this show has come out for 5 years. For the last year, a show has come out almost twice a week, every week. So yeah, I didn't know much starting out, but I can't help with that part. But the biggest takeaway is definitely be consistent. So the next question says, how do you prepare mentally to not get so consumed with making money versus carrying out God's will? I respectfully want to do both, but I feel like I can. It's just that I sometimes become stagnant because as soon as I start thinking about the numbers that I could make, I start to doubt myself and even the talent. And she said, I hope this makes sense. It makes sense to me. I believe what you're saying that you're studying with is wrapping your mind around sometimes God's way not being profitable. And that's a very real place that anybody who lives in America or anywhere really, but especially expensive America, that's a real place because life costs and your landlord or mortgage company don't care that you're being obedient. Um, Whoever you do your phone through, so Sprint or AT&T, don't care whether you are doing things God's way or not. So I get it, but you asked me about how to prepare mentally, and I will say the biggest, what's the best way to say it? The biggest thing for you to keep in mind is not necessarily how to prepare mentally, but how to prepare as far or how to make your decisions just align with whatever it is that God is calling you to do. You can feel however it is you need to feel, but what are you going to do? It's always going to be a tug of war of doing things God's way versus the world's way. It's never going to not be a battle. So you wrap your mind around it by simply deciding that you're going to be obedient. That's it. And you feel how you need to feel about it. You know, your feelings matter. So feel however it is that you want to feel, but make sure that your decision making aligns with whatever it is that God is calling you to do. Also, and I addressed this in a previous YouTube video, don't think that doing whatever it is God is calling you to do means you're going to be broke, because that's not true. That's just simply not true. Um, it's just not. The Bible says that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. It says that He will supply all your needs according to His riches in glory. God is a provider. He will do exceedingly and abundantly above anything you can ask for or think. You will never not do things God's way. Um, and He won't take care of you. That will be going against His word. He's going to always provide and take care of you. So you don't need to worry about that. You just need to make sure that your actions align with whatever it is He's calling you to do. Now, after you make sure your actions line up, now we can deal with the emotions part, right? Because the emotions are what come into play when you're not able to sleep at night because you're trusting God, but the notifications, them past due notices is coming through, or you're trusting God, but you're not seeing how it's going to pay off. Those tormenting thoughts are real. And the only way I could tell you how to, and you actually asked how to prepare mentally. How you prepare mentally, I'm gonna tell you how to prepare mentally and how to deal with it mentally. How you prepare mentally is to expect that it won't be easy, to expect that you're going to be in your feelings, to expect it's going to be hard, expect that it's not going to be a walk in the park, but also understand that it's worth it. But how you deal with it mentally is you have to combat your emotions and your feelings with the word of God. The word of God is your sword. There's a book that I recommend. It's called The Power of Speaking God's Word by Joyce Meyer. It's a very small book, literally like you can put it in your pocket if your pockets is big enough. But it definitely fits in your purse or anything of that nature. The book is categorized by emotions. So you can go to the table of contents and go next to impatient. It's going to take you to a bunch of scriptures that talk about impatience. You can go to I'm feeling anxious, and it's going to take you to scriptures regarding being anxious. So I would suggest how you deal mentally when you're in a season, because it's not always this torment. It's not always lack, if that makes sense. You're not always in a space where you're going through it, but there are seasons where it is like that. And the remedy to that is to fill yourself with the word, combat your thoughts with the word, leave it all to God, and make sure your decisions, though, your actions align with what it is that He needs you to do. Okay, y'all here on YouTube, hold on, because my phone is blowing up and I need to mute notifications on a couple group chats. I'm looking at the emails on my phone, and so the texts are distracting. Okay, let me go to another question. My question is, how do people respond to you stating so firmly that you stand on God's word and principles for your business? Where were there potential clients who chose not to work with you because of your faith? This is a great question. I'm very happy that you asked this. I'm gonna say it one more time. How did people respond to you stating so firmly that you stand on God's words and principles for your business? Were there potential clients who chose not to work with you because of your faith? So I personally don't know how people have responded to my faith because I haven't had to deal with someone having an issue with it because they kind of understand where I stand based off of, hearing me speak or my branding or whatever it is that I talk about. I haven't encountered people who had an issue with that. Um, but when it comes to potential clients, though, the conflict mostly is internally. A lot of times people don't really have a problem with me being a Christian and me building a business on biblical principles. They don't really mind that. Usually, the issue comes in with me choosing who I'm going to work with. So, even though I'm a person of God and I'm a faith based entrepreneur, I'm also very good at what I do. So, again, for those of you guys who are entrepreneurs, you being a person of God does not give you an excuse to be a bad business person and to not be good at whatever it is that you actually do. So, my company, Anchor Media, we develop and produce podcasts. We are very good at that. We have taken so many shows and made them charting podcasts. We've taken people who weren't making any money in their business and through their podcast have been able to see an increase financially in their business. Like we are very good at what we do and we have the track record to prove it. So the problem usually comes in with the responsibility of that. And that's more of an internal thing as far more than external because I don't really deal with that too much with any potential clients or people I meet because it is what it is. I'm a Christian. And if they're not, that's okay. That's your journey. And it's not for me to dictate where you should be or anything of that nature. But who we decide to work with, that's a whole different story because understanding that we are good at what we do, we also have a responsibility to do the work of the Lord and not the work of the world. And so, what I mean by that is, if because we have a gift and a skill set to be able to amplify voices and to push podcasts forward, we have to be selective and intentional about who we apply that skill set to. Because if we're not, we'll begin to amplify voices and causes and perspectives that we don't believe in. And so the conflict more so has been internally with turning down opportunities and deciding not to work with certain people and figuring out a business process that allows us to maintain our integrity and the responsibility that we have. And so the way that that has been set up is, for example, to work with Anchor Media as far as like new and aspiring podcasters, they have to come through the Find Your Voice Academy track. We don't work with everybody. And I have no problem saying that. I will leave any amount of money on the table for that. I've left a lot of money on the table for that. So I'm tried and true in a lot of the stuff I'm telling you right now. But you have to come through the Find Your Voice Academy track. Step one is the open house, and that's pretty much an informational where I tell people about us as a company, what we do, how to work with us. After people learn about what we do, and if they want to continue to work with us and enter into our client base, they have to apply. Now, the application process is there for a reason because it puts a control in place to make sure that we're not building platforms for the enemy, but that we're amplifying voices and messages that are consistent with what we believe in. So, again, really making sure when it comes to our client base, our business process is very big in making sure we work with the right people. And so, having an application process, choosing our clients is a big deal. I've been introduced to people all the time where there was a time recently, actually, where I was introduced to somebody and we had a mutual acquaintance, and they thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to connect with this person, potentially do a podcast with them, and all of that. But after just learning more about them, our core values just did not align. And so it just is what it is. We're just not going to work with them. And that's okay. I don't believe that I'll ever turn down anything in order to stay in alignment with God that He won't bless me in the long run for. My integrity is not for sale. And that's just, it just is what it is. Hold on, YouTube. My husband's calling me. This is what happens when things are live. Pause, commercial break. All right, we're back. Gotta make sure I answer the phone for my man. All right. The next question. Go back to my emails. All right. Somebody said, I don't want to answer that one. Hold on. Okay. This is a very specific podcast question. So I'm going to respond to them in the email. So this question says, this is a podcast related question. How do you monetize for a podcast? And she specifically asks, meaning how do you reach out to get companies for sponsorship? Great question. So podcasts make money two ways: funneling people to an existing business, as well as sponsorships. So one of the things we do with Anchor Media, because in order to get sponsors, you need at least 5,000 listens per episode, at least. But that still puts you in a limited pool of people who are willing to sell at that listenership number. The magic number, or the sweet spot to get to when it comes to podcasting, is 10,000 listens per episode. That's not 10,000 listens per month. So make sure you're looking at the right number. That means if your show comes out on January 1st, how many listens does that episode have from January 1st to February 1st? They sponsors want to know how many listens they can expect to have on their show within a 30-day window. And that number needs to be around 10,000, but you can get some sponsors at around 5,000. Now, when you're at that point and so because that number is so high, one of the things that we do with Anchor Media is we teach people how to set up their shows. So it's a lead. Can y'all hear me? Hello, hello. Let me know in the comments. All right. See, one thing I like about Instagram Live is people can give hearts. YouTube is usually like a delay, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. Yes, we hear you. Okay, perfect, awesome. So, where did I leave off at? One of the things that we do with Anchor Media is we teach people how to make their podcast a lead generation machine. Because I don't believe you should wait to make money till you get to 10,000 listens per month, or per episode. If you're at 100 listens per episode, those are still potential customers. So you just want to leave them, like, not capitalize off that until somebody else decides to give you money. No, we don't wait for people to open a door. We build our own. And so with podcasting, that's why one of the things that we teach is how to create the system to turn your listeners into customers for your business. And but her question, she wanted to know reaching out to companies for sponsorships. There are a few ways that you can do that. once you have the numbers, what I love about podcast advertising is once you have the numbers, it's really just a matter of who's going to write the check and who you want to work with. It's really not that much work after that. But you can work with different companies. So there are companies like I work with my host and provider Audio Boom sales team, where they find ads for the show. We've been working together in that way for a few years. And so they reach out, they say, Tatum, such and such, one of our sponsors? I don't have my spreadsheet up to know who's sponsoring this episode, but let's say one of our frequent ones is ZipRecruiter, and they just renewed for next year. So shout out to ZipRecruiter. But so they'll say, "Hey, Tatum, ZipRecruiter is interested in your show. This is what they do. Check them out. Let us know if you want them to, if you're cool with them sponsoring." I say yes or no. If I say yes, then pretty much they complete the sale, and we have a revenue split when it comes to that. They basically do all the work, and then we split the revenue in a percentage share where I get the majority. So you can work with a sales team that way with whatever your hosting provider is. Advertise Cast is another one that we use that finds sponsors for us. So they'll send me an email. Same thing. They'll send me an email. BetterHelp is a Advertise Cast found sponsor. So they'll say, BetterHelp is interested in buying ad spots on your show for this amount of ads, this type of date. Check them out. Let us know if you're interested. I say yes or no, and they pretty much complete the deal. I get my split. I do the ads. Case closed. If it performs well, the companies renew. So you can work with these middleman companies, which I prefer to do because it's not a lot of work on my part other than saying yes or no and then delivering the ad. And also the revenue shares in podcasting are really, really good. So you're getting 70 between, depending on who you work with, getting between 60 and 80%. And 60 is like actually is not even ever that low, but you're getting between 70 and 80% of the cut without doing any work. And as long as there aren't any exclusivity issues. So, for example, well, let me complete that thought. As long as there aren't any exclusivity issues, you can also go out and find your own sponsors. So, for example, if there was Talkspace as a competitor of BetterHelp, I can't go out to Talkspace while I'm under contract with BetterHelp and negotiate an ad because that's a conflict with my exclusivity agreement. But if I go to another company, Coffee Makers USA, I just made them up. So if they exist and they trash, I'm not endorsing them. I made that up. But if I go to Coffee Makers USA and say, and I pitch my show to them and I tell them the listeners that I have, then I can negotiate that deal and keep 100% of the revenue from that ad sale. But so if you're looking for sponsors, you can reach out to companies directly. You can reach out to people who are in charge of like growth marketing is, excuse me, a title that should be of interest to you. Anybody really in a marketing department, you can reach out to them, let them know you're trying to basically pitch your show for sponsors and then have them point you in the right direction as far as who you need to talk to. But working with these companies like an Advertise Cast or Audio Boom, or there's so many out there. I think Gumball is another one. Working with these companies are beneficial because they're usually selling across all of the shows they partner with. So Advertise Cast is not selling just on my show. They're selling on my show and every other show that's like mine that they have on their platform. And so it allows the check to be bigger than because it's the numbers are bigger because they're selling as a collective. Okay, more podcast questions. That was like 10 questions in one. Let me see. Okay, so this one says, I'm a fairly new podcaster and I love it. It is my goal and dream for my podcast to become my primary source of income. How often do you record podcast episodes and do you have any advice for me to begin to help me along the way? So, yes, other than being consistent, which we already talked about, is to create a lot of content. If you're a new podcaster, make sure that video is a part of your podcasting strategy. So if you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube. That's where things are going. Um, so record a lot of video, interact with your audience as much as possible, because another reason why we teach people to make money by funneling people into their business in addition to sponsorships is because when you have a sponsor, that's one check. It's usually bigger, but that's one check. When you funnel people into your business, you can get paid multiple times by that one listener, and that becomes a longer check. And it may become, depending on what you offer, of course, and all how much it costs and all of that, that might become a bigger check than the sponsor check. And I can tell you from my experience, I make way more money off of my business sales than I do from podcast sponsorships specifically. And so again, there's a lot of value in taking your listeners and turning them into customers. So for you, I would try to figure, I don't know if you have a business based off of your signature in your email. It says that you have a business consulting firm. So we know you, I now know you have a business. Cool. So make sure that your show is set up to where you're funneling people from your podcast into your company, and Anchor Media, we help with that. But that's the way that you're going to make podcasting your primary source of income, is by doing that. And then of course doing video, all of the different marketing things we teach with Anchor Media, making sure that your show is getting listeners. Then you can add, and once you get to those 10,000 listens a month, then you can add the sponsorship revenue on top of that. Now you're really, making you some serious coins. Those of you guys who are here on YouTube Live, you guys can drop questions down here, and I can answer yours too. I think I'm going to do a couple more before hopping off of here. Because we had a lot of podcast related questions, and I didn't want to make this a podcast episode. So, and I'll make this the last question. So this question says, where are we at on time? Yeah, I'll make this the last question. This question says, when God gives you a vision or an assignment to create another aspect of your business, but your passion for the assignment is crippled by fear, or fear of failing, or you're worried that you are taking on too many projects, how have you pressed through to remain obedient and excited about the work ahead? Let me say that one more time. When God gives you a vision, an assignment to create another aspect of your business, but your passion for the assignment is crippled by fear of failing, or you're worried that you're taking on too many projects, how have you pressed through to remain obedient and excited about the work ahead? So I want to dismantle the notion that we have to be excited or passionate all the time about what we do. You really don't. You just need to do it, and you just need to do it well. I did a post on my Instagram page recently where it was like a behind the scenes video from the photo shoot I had a couple of weeks ago. And I said, the aspect of my job that I don't like is like the taking photos and videos, all of the, I'm not gonna call it vanity stuff because it matters, but really all of that, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And it was funny because the photographer was like, "Oh, you're so good, I can't tell." I'm like, because I look at this as a job. Like, I'm the talent. It's my job to show up, to make sure I'm taking pictures well or whatever, because it benefits my business. I don't like doing that. I'm not passionate about it. I don't mind doing like lives and stuff like that, because I don't show up on live beat to the gods and dress to the nines. If I'm going to show up live on my platforms, I'm gonna show up as I really am. So I'm here on YouTube right now. I don't have a stitch of makeup on. I did put a little edge control on for y'all. That's it. I got broke nails on both fingers because I haven't made it to the nail salon yet, because it's not important in the grand scheme of the things I have to do today. It'll get done another time. But it is what it is. I brush my hair. That's all y'all got from me, is a little edge control, and I brush my hair. But I'm going to show up, and I'm going to do what I have to do, because I need to do it. It's a part of the job. And so when it comes to building these businesses, even when it's a God ordained assignment, you're not going to be passionate about it 24/7. You're just not, but you have to do it. And you have to show up and you have to do it well because you're supposed to. The same way, a lot of us, it's crazy how we work jobs. And I'm not even going to rant, but I'm going to finish this thought. It's crazy how we work jobs that we hate for 100 years. But the second God tells us to do something that isn't like super exciting or that we're not super passionate about, now all of a sudden maybe that wasn't God. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. No, he told you to do it, so you got to do it because he said so. And you got to show up and you got to do it well and honor him with what he's, assigned for you to do. But nevertheless, I remain obedient because I decided, I don't even know how many years it's been now, that I was going to do business God's way. And whatever came with that, I decided that that's what I was going to do. I'm not always excited. I'm not always passionate, but I don't have to be those things in order to be obedient. Excitement and passion are not prerequisites to obedience. Making a decision is. That's it. And so, for me, I just do what he tells me to do and I deal with how I feel about it later. That's it. So for you, I'm not gonna say your name. So for you, whatever it is he's calling you to do it. If you feel like you're taking on too many projects, drop the other ones. Or if you're supposed to be doing multiple things at one time, figure out how to be the most effective with what it is that you're doing. A lot of times we think we need more money, we need more people, we need more time, we need more of something in order to do whatever it is that we have been called to do. But most of the time, you just need to look at what you have. Look at the budget. If time is your issue, you get 24 hours a day. That's your budget. Look and see where you're allocating that time to. That hour that you spent scrolling before you actually got out the bed could have been applied to one of the things that you're called to do right now. That time, and I'm snitching on myself. That time I spend sitting in a car every time I get somewhere, because I'm one of them people where if I pull up to the store, I'm gonna sit in the car for about 30 minutes before I even get out. And when I get home, I sit in the car for about 30 minutes before I even do anything. I don't know why. That's just what makes me comfortable. I just be chilling. But if I ever feel like I'm at I don't have enough time in the day, I know exactly where to pull from. Tatum, when you get somewhere, get out the car and go do what you got to do. You just saved yourself an hour. Or, if you have, so for me, sometimes I work from home, sometimes I work at the office. If there's a lot going on, I just work from home because I now save time of getting dressed and commute and all of that. And I apply it to whatever it is that I have going on. So again, for you, if it's time that you need, find it. I'm sure you have it. You just need to find it. If it's money that you need, find it. When I first quit my job, I can't believe 2022 will be 5 years. I was talking to somebody. I'm working with a podcaster who is, she works with like job seekers, and I was like, dang, I ain't looked for a job in a minute. Is this? I'm asking her questions. I'm like, dang, I can't believe it's been that long. But when I first left my job, I didn't have money for a lot of things. So I stopped getting my nails done. I learned how to do Marley twist on YouTube so that my hair could at least look neat. When I didn't have, my natural hair out. I just stopped doing that. When I started actually being able to do stuff again, it was weird. But yeah, I just push through. And if it's something that I need that I don't have, whether it's time or finances or whatever, I find it. And so for you, if you feel like you're taking on too many projects, I would go back to the drawing board to see, like, are these other projects things that I need to be doing right now? If not, then put them down and focus on the thing that God is calling you to. If He is calling you to do those things at one time, then figure out a way to make it happen. He wouldn't call you to do it if there was not a way in which it can get done and it can get done well. You just need to go back to Him to figure out what that strategy is. All right, y'all. So that is it for the YouTube. I am going to download this. I want to check the audio because I didn't even use a mic or anything. I was curious as to how this would sound without a microphone. because especially doing question Q&A, I can do this over. But I deal with a lot of podcasters, or a lot of people ask about, if they don't have money for a mic, starting a podcast, and all of that. And so I like to put myself at day one a lot of times so that I can be a better assistance to people who are dealing with that. So sometimes I'll record the podcast with no mic just so I could see what it sounds like and be able to speak to that. So here doing YouTube with no mic, what's that looking like? What's that's going to sound like when it comes to the podcast? Because it has to not only be cool for YouTube, but if it's going to be done, if this same audio is going to be used for podcasts too, I need to make sure it sounds good. Because there's video here, there may be certain sound things that you guys don't notice because another sense is being tended to. So because you can see and hear me, there may be certain audio issues you're not noticing. But if you were to close your eyes, you may be able to pick up stuff. So same way people who are like blind can hear a lot better, it's because that sense, that one of those senses have been eliminated. So when it comes to audio for the podcast, I'm curious as to what it sounds like. So somebody said the audio sounds good, but I have a fan on right now, so I'm wondering like if it's going to catch that with the audio. So yeah, I like to really make sure that I'm well versed in every aspect of podcasting and for people at every level, because there are a lot of us who are called to start shows and who have messages to get out there, and we can't let anything stop us. And a lot of people, I come across them and they talk to me and they're like, well, you do this now or do that now. But when I first started, uh, I recorded the show on a $40 mic in the conference room of my aunt's apartment building because I didn't even know that you could do remote recording. It was me and a co-host, so I didn't even know we could both record online in different places. So we met up every week in the conference room and recorded the podcast there. When I had guests, I packed up my mic and my extra mic, and I drove to their house or their office or wherever they was at with my little equipment and set up because I didn't know that you could do it remotely. So yeah, I found your podcast a few months ago and it's been so helpful. I'm 53 with years in higher education, haven't found any job yet, but I ask God to close every job door that I'm willing to walk through. Thank you so much for listening to the show, and I stand in agreement that you will find the position or create the position that He has for you. Your podcast inspired me entrepreneurial. Yeah, start that business. I love entrepreneurship. I always say at this point I'm unemployable. I'll be at a job confused. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off of here. I still have to record ads and add those ads. I think we have like 4 ads in this episode, so I have to add those in if the audio sounds good, or re-record if the audio don't sound good. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on here and doing these test runs of doing the podcast live. Subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of cool content coming to the YouTube channel. So I have a vlog right now that I need to review once I get off of here. I'm excited about that. And the podcast 5-year anniversary is in January, and I have some exciting things to tell y'all about that. But thank you for hanging out with me. If you're not subscribed to the show, we have 250 some episodes to listen to. So go back. If you go to blessedandbossedup.com, if there's anything that you're going through specifically or that you want to learn about specifically, if you go to blessedandbossedup.com, we have a search feature on the website where you can just search by keywords. So if it's trusting God, you can search that. If it's building faith, you can search that. And the episodes that are relevant to that particular topic will populate for you. And so that's something really cool that we put together to make it easy to find the exact episodes that y'all are looking for. Also, get your God is my CEO merch. This is one of our new items. This is a crop sweatshirt that's available on the website too. That's it. Thank you guys. Bye.